Video 86, answering some questions about George Noory and in his past lives. What brought him to this planet at this particular time? This here is the ancient spirit tralaka speaking through here in spirit. This all started as a normal phone conversation with a very good friend of mine who goes by the name of Back to Constitution on YouTube. He's a very popular site. He has many hundreds of videos he's worked very, very hard on. He called desiring to know about spirit beings such as George Noory and others like him. How did they end up at the planet Earth at this time? Now, George Noory is a very, very interesting spirit being. Though he is not directly from the Pleiadian star system or the Vega star systems of planets. He comes from a system called Trisolera. His whole planet is also called Trisolera. This is necessary to explain again because it needs to be understood how other star system species, how they explain where they are by the way they name their planet and their system. The planet in that those twin star system of planets, this twin star is unique, for the two star suns are as two magnets that repel each other just enough so the system of planets that go around them, and they are many, 16 is the number of planets with 41 moons. That's a lot of moons. That's a lot of detouring around to get outside of the planetary systems with the ships. There's a twin star system, which is stable for at least another 2.6 billion years, as it's being explained to me, which is a very long lifetime for a twin star system in understanding. Here, depending, of course, on the stability of the two star suns' magnetic push and pull that they are having with each other. What is known at the time is the twin stars are not even at a half-life. When the higher science of more advanced species compare the different suns and sun systems of single and twin system suns, the twin suns systems are much more seen in the vast areas of the living universe than the single sun systems. The twin sun systems many times provide much greater benefits overall than those of a single sun system. Though back to the Trisolera system that George Noory's inner spirit is from. This particular system, planets have a very long solar year. These planets here have a twice a year wobble in their orbits. This is when they, and each to their own, when the planet that is in that location that is in the far orbit of the twin star suns, and when they are in the front orbit of the twin star suns, because of the huge magnetic push-pull fields between the two star suns. When this is a time of a few weeks, each time that the magnetics on the planets and moons that are closer to the twin star suns, the planet and moon's magnetics will flux a little bit, just enough for those closer planets affected and moons that they do not allow any magnetic driven ships that transport, whether it's personal or public or cargo, to leave on orbits going between the planet and moons. Because of ages ago, very important here, the ages ago, very horrible accidents occurred because they did not understand the magnetics between the twins, between their twin stars and their planets and moons versus their magnetic drives. However, they have learned to devise this triple ring hydrogen drive transports, which are able to be used any time of their long years. However, they still to this day really have this passion about magnetic ring-driven ships for local transportation. On his home planet, George Noory's inner spirit would stand at just over 7 foot tall here, as I am being shown. Here is showing at 7 foot 4 inches, 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. This here is not unusual. This here is seen in different parts of the living universe. Not really common, but yet not uncommon. His hair was a very dark red. To most, they would think, well, the hair is brown. Ah, no, it's black. But many of those on the tricellular planets have brown hair or black hair with many shades of reds. Some even have what they call a near clear red, which would be really incredible to be able to see when it glistens in those twin suns' early morning rays. The males usually reach 8 foot in height, while the females usually do not grow over 6 foot to 6 foot 5 inches in height. The male eyes are usually a sea blue in color, while the female eyes are usually a hazel in color. Both usually have shorter hair on their head. This is their custom, not to be longer than a foot long of hair. Many prefer the shorter hair. The females love to color their hair as those brilliant multicolors of their twin suns as they set in the evening. The Triaceera species, though they do not go outside of their very large system and planets and moons all that often, they have a very good understanding of the magnetic drive ships for hundreds of thousands of years. Important to understand, they figured this stuff out hundreds of thousands of years ago to use for personal transports, cargoes, multiple cargoes, and even they report to use for exploration bound very large ships that use a many magnetic drive rings. They're stacked, they're melted in pairs. And with this very high tech storage, I'm still trying to understand between those pairs of magnetic drives to assure enough power so they should they come between an incoming magnetic field they're going toward and can't quite reach it, and the magnetic field they're leaving can't quite push them any farther. They have enough power in these storage banks to be able to move the ship into the next magnetic pull. Now, the citizens on in the star system love philosophy and different forms of math. Interesting combination. More than the arts. Though they have the arts, they rather talk about philosophy and maths. One of their solar years for those on those actual Tricera planet is 1 year for each 16 years for those would have here on the planet Earth. Their normal ages they live is between 806 and 1500 years per their time on their home planet. At the time, it is not seen that the Triaceera species, they do not have many records of big battles, of devastating bloodshed. Even a fraction of that, of this warring fractions we have here on the planet Earth, where it's been a bloodbath for very much of many thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. For the Triaceera are more known for their rational being able to talk it out to maintain peace so everybody benefits. And they love to hunt, though. Very interesting. They love the peace and sharing the peace. However, they love to go hunting during the wobbling of their planets and moons, for the ones that are inhabited. Because of the animals in the wilds, are quite the challenge. These animals range between 1,030 pounds to just over 3,000 pounds. That's one heck of an animal. These animals can swim as fast as they can run, which is fast. They can stay under the surface of water for a couple of hours. They breed 4 times a year. What type of animal would possibly breed 4 times a year that is that size? So they are hunted twice a year. These animals do not need much air to breathe, which is very, very strange as it's being explained to me, because animals generally that size need a lot of oxygen. Of course, that's depending if they need oxygen, because they may not be like on planet Earth here, and most likely are not similar. The mothers and daughters of those animals have very powerful wings to fly high above in the clouds, where they love to be during the awake seasons. Now, making a journey in some parts of those planets and few moons is very dangerous in both magnetic drive or hydrogen drive ships in some times of their season's year, because that particular species of animal which I've been speaking about is very wild and cannot and has never ever been known to be able to be tamed to be a pet. They are very fearsome. Their front claws are 2.5 times that of an adult earth black bear in size and length. The 5 claws have nearly full movements like earth fingers do. The fifth claw on each of his two massive on his two massive front paws have this full movements like our thumbs do, so it's able to capture food and hold it in its powerful grip as it shreds it, whether it's on the land or in the waters. This very fearsome animal is very fast with these claw movements in a fight. Should a species of humanoid or any other citizen of those planets get cornered by these animals have a 6 foot tail, which is near solid muscle, which would make it very, very powerful defense mechanism, which it uses in battle or in swimming for defense whilst in the waters. For most citizens, as is being recorded here, on those planets to engage in a battle, only the tricelera beings are allowed to hunt them in the 2 hunting seasons. No other off-worlders are allowed to go except for the native species of that planetary system. They use this meat, and these are lots of meats on these animals. It's very healthy, and it's a heavier meat though, like a buffalo, though coarse, and it is best to be frozen for 6 weeks to 4 months, depending, of course, they say, on the size of the animal. It is many times they cook them in deep pits underneath the restaurants for a week and a half to be able to weaken up that coarse meat and to really make it really soft and enjoyable in the flavors. And it is served during the slumber seasons. This is important to understand. They don't serve them during the hunting season. They serve them during the slumber seasons of the animals, in which the fields are planted and also harvested in those two opposite sides of their solar year. So it is safe, relatively safe outside for the farmers and others to be in the countryside with the plants and so forth. There is no niceness. There is no niceness about that species of animal at all. You cannot tame them. You cannot befriend them. You can't throw a saddle on them. You can't hook them to a wagon train. Of course, they don't use a wagon trains on that planet, but I'm just saying here, for a citizen of that twin system of suns planets to even have just one crystal picture of them showing that they had hunted and actually killed one of these animals to bring forth the meat, for their family and such, is a huge achievement. Huge achievement. 30% of those citizens who go out to hunt their first time in their life, and many a times this is is about when the children are becoming of age, to be becoming adults. 30% of those citizens who go out to hunt those first times, many of them are never recovered. This is why a hunting ID cube must be around their neck the whole time they're going to the hunt, and the way back, all the way back to their individual towns or villages and cities and so forth, for their own safety. For these animals are that vicious and yet smart. These animals, these huge animals, they try to divide the hunters into smaller groups, and then divide those smaller groups into even smaller groups, and then they trap them in this horrible rage, and it's a horrible sight. They can smell a citizen of the planet a half a mile away. Well, at least this is what they're telling me. And they can reach speeds nearing 45 miles an hour. That's a fast, heavy load of meat coming down towards you. These female animals have very powerful wings, and only the females have them. And they can come, they love to fly up and around the clouds where they can overlook things. They've been known to dive, power dive, at speeds of nearly 163 miles an hour. Wow. I want to go hunting there. In these powered straight down plunge to attack the hunters, or even just plain citizens or those farmers out in the fields in cases where the harvest season is later because of weather, or much earlier when the farmers really need to be out there in the fields or the orchards. Now, George Noory's inner spirit was just one of many of them that came here in this lifetime to the planet Earth, that was invited. He was invited by different situations, different council, to go to the planet Earth. He was asked to go to this planet Earth here, of a planetary system that many in other parts of the living universe have never even heard of, because of George Noory's inner spirit in different past lives, reputation for his researching and teaching all that delicate research as he taught as a teacher, also in the higher education system schools on his home planet. He was very understood and respected. He also felt it to be quite the challenge to go to a limited Earth in a nowhere zone. It's like, well, where's Earth? A little itty bitty thing, and bring forth deep levels of truth from what is being hidden on the planet Earth, that many beings on Earth are deeply suffering from the lack of the knowledge, for the lack of the truths, to be able to help change things to a better situation. The voice you hear on the shows of George Noory is of his inner spirit, which has guided the outer expression of George Noory. I'll say this again. The voice you hear on the shows of George Noory speaking is of his inner spirit, which has guided the outer three-dimensional expression that is George Noory very strongly in his career from all this past life experiences. Always, my friends, always journey safely. Witness many things on many worlds. Deepen your understanding. Expand your earth minds to embrace deeper knowledge, far past just false propaganda lies being projected to the beings on the planet Earth by the hidden cults and hidden agendas. Grow past this. Grow in wisdom past this. Embrace the inner spirit. Awaken your inner spirit. and have a union with that inner spirit individually so you can grow in true wisdom. This here is the ancient spirit tralaka.